Welcome back to A Bite from the Money Sandwich, where we provide practical and easy to understand tips and ideas on how to manage your money better, so as to let you retire with comfort and on your own terms. Why would you want to know about fixed income investing? Well, it could definitely boost your savings, and to explain why, I'm pleased to be joined by Ali Rosenberg, co-founder of Blossom, a savings app providing access to fixed income products to the everyday investor when normally you would need significant funds to access these type of products. Ali shares their very interesting story to how she and her sister Gaby, both finance professionals, launched Blossom during the pandemic to break down barriers in the fixed income market. They've attracted over 22,000 customers already, and Ali discusses how they've created a platform that empowers women, offering low fees, no minimum investment, and in future plans to expand into New Zealand, plus joint and kids accounts. Let's hear how they're making fixed income investments easier and accessible for everyone, as we all want to get the maximum out of our hard-earned money. Well, welcome, Ali, to the show, and it's a topic with two adult daughters, and I'm very quite keen to pursue. So can you please, probably a good place to start is, what was your thinking behind starting Blossom?
Sure. Gaby is my co-founder and sister, not here today, but the two of us come from a long lineage of finance professionals. Every dinner table discussion has always been around the newest innovation, the newest opportunity. It was during COVID and we were stuck at home with a lot of time on our hands, as you would remember, and we thought it'd be a good time to get on top of our finances. But also what you'd remember is the backdrop was very interesting. We were watching the markets fall. Interest rates were at an all-time low. The crypto bubble had burst. No one really knew what was going to happen beyond in the markets. But what we did know was that institutions and high net worth investors flocked to the fixed income market and leaving most of the retail market behind, including us. And I just remember watching businesses on the stock market crash given the uncertainty. Certain businesses were flying. There was the crazy volatility, and we are inherently risk-averse people. So fixed income sounded like something we really wanted to put our own savings into. But we started doing some research and quickly realized we were priced out of the market for starters. So most options had high minimum investments and high fees. And to get a decent return, we had to part with our money for an extended period of time. And we knew that fixed income wouldn't just play an important role for us, but our friends and colleagues, we asked them, and it was all something they were interested in. But it wasn't just hard to access, it was also hard to understand. And as women, we didn't feel connected to the groups involved in the space either. So we wanted to make it our mission, allow everyone, men and women, to access the best savings opportunities out there. And it's been 3 years. We started in June 2021, so just over 3 years now. We've got 22,000 customers now with just under $90 million in funds under management.
Oh, that's brilliant. And really, 2020, yep, I wrote a book. So, I know exactly that period of time. But I also do remember that 3 or 4 months when, we had the Russian oil crisis, we had COVID, what was the world looking like at that time? And the markets absolutely got affected. And it was, for me, telling a lot of my clients, no, you need to sit on your hands. You got to ride this out because, but there were a lot of people sort of, nope, we don't know where this is going to end, so we're going to take our money, but weren't really quite sure where to go. When you actually said before about, yes, you were priced out of the market, if you wanted to sort of, what's a typical minimum that you were thinking, you were looking at that you sort of said, no, that's too high for the average person?
Yeah. So if you have an advisor, and they have access to the platforms, you can find some funds that have access that will let you access with 5 or 10 grand. But we were looking at some of the sophisticated players, like the ones that we wanted to get access to, and you're looking at 50 grand minimum. For young savers, that's just not achievable. With us, we'll get into what our app's about, but you can start with $5. And we aren't just for young people. We've seen a growing number of pre-retirees and those with significant savings using Blossom. But in a time of market volatility, we just wanted to create a solution that was going to help people at every single life stage.
Yeah, and I think and we will get into that, the detail more, because there really needed to be in the market something middle ground for everyday investors. Yes, you've got the share market and you've got cash, which is what basically we had to do, just go to the bank and just put our money there. But whether that was a good interest rate or not, traditionally it's not. And I really like where Blossom is sort of that middle ground and providing a middle ground solution for everyday investors. So yeah, why don't you tell us a bit about how actually Blossom works, the app that actually works?
Of course. So through our app, which you can download on your mobile or access through the web, we have both. You get access to our bespoke fixed income fund. And we've removed the barriers to entry, like we talked about, the high fees and the minimums. And getting started with $5, you can access two of our products. We have two right now. So the first is called Blossom Save, which targets a 5.95% per annum return. Earnings are compounded daily, so you really feel the power of compounding returns, and withdrawals are processed daily. Then we have Blossom Plus, which targets 7% per annum returns, and withdrawals are processed quarterly. Whenever we have a new customer come to Blossom, and fund their account, we plant a tree in a bushfire-affected region.
Okay.
And also we have a referral program, and that's where we're giving back to the community and making donations to the Garvin Institute. So yeah, that's a little...
Just to clarify, that quarterly, is that quarterly as in you've set a quarterly date, or quarterly from the time you invest?
It's calendar quarterly. So okay. We've set the date, and yeah, you process your withdrawal knowing that it's going to come out in those intervals.
And that's purely because you're just going to get the higher return. You're having to get something that's got bit more volatility involved.
While targeting a 7% return for Blossom Plus naturally takes on relatively more risk, we do work with our fund manager who manages a really diversified portfolio to mitigate any of that risk. And diversification across our fund and our offering is crucial. We're spreading risk across various assets, various sectors, various regions to balance any of that risk really effectively. And since the quarterly withdrawals are processed on that quarterly basis rather than daily, it also gives us more flexibility to take on strategies and pursue strategies to optimize the return, but also manage the risk at the same time.
Yeah, and quarterly is fine. That's for anyone who's been listening to in my podcast for a while. It's just you're trying to get your money working harder for you, and sometimes that involves shares or property, and to get the better returns. But it's like you don't want to sell your property in a down market, or the same in the shares in a down market. So giving yourself that flexibility with strategy just makes perfect sense. Okay, so what I also really like when I was doing some research around Blossom, and cute name too, by the way, was the majority female user base, and you've mentioned it a couple of times, even though it is available for everyone, and I can see why, for especially pre-retirees and retirees, having that fixed interest option would be a great one. But it has sort of confirmed my belief that women are better savers than men, and it's just that. But traditionally, men also have a higher salaries than women, and there is that gender pay gap that's been talked about. But just your own experience or research in female saving habits would be curious. It'd be good to know about.
Sure, we've noticed such a stark difference in how women approach saving compared to men, and 65% of our database are women. So we see it in the data. They tend to be more disciplined. They're patient. We're very goal-oriented. Many of our female customers are automating contributions to their account. So we've got a way that you can set up a direct debit, or you can create recurring transfers into your Blossom account. And they're saving for specific goals like homes and holidays. They're also withdrawing less, and which means they're leaving their savings invested for longer periods. And I think, or we believe, that the shift is driven by a full difference in mindset. It's focused on future planning. It's focused on financial stability and security. And today, especially, women have better access to financial education. We've got a much better, or there's increased visibility in terms of female financial role models out there, sparking the conversations around the importance of saving and investing. And I think that gives women a greater sense of empowerment to take control of their finances. But also we have we have the backdrop of the rising cost of living and economic uncertainty as well, which is pushing women, at least like ourselves, to be more cautious and forward thinking. And we think that's where Blossom's really supporting the women of today.
Yeah, and everything you've just said then makes a lot of sense. And I just have to look at for when my own clients or people I coached, every person who basically said, I want to get rich quick scheme is normally men. It really has been. And I've got to say, I was exactly the same at 25. What do I want to be by the time I was 30? And some of my friends around with their goal setting and all that, mine was I had to have $1 million. It was about how quickly can I get $1 million? And they sort of said, well, what are you going to do with that $1 million? I don't care. I need to have $1 million. That was my target. And I just know a lot of males and my daughter's friends and all those sort of things talking about that. There is that I've got to just be more aggressive. I want to get there quicker. But when you ask them, well, what, if you've got a family, you've got children, it's not as if you're going anywhere. So I think absolutely young women or women in general, especially if they've got family, a building, they can see far more long-term and far more stability. Whereas, it's definitely a mindset. And you only have to look at gambling apps. They're not targeted at young women. They're targeted at young men. Bet with your mates and all that. So there's a whole subject just in that alone, the psychology around investing in male versus female. But it's I can absolutely see your research. So, but how about for men then? Because they are, I imagine, would want to invest more, but also not. They will want quick results, or they won't keep their money in there as long, I imagine.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with everything you've said. Men in our customer base tend to have bigger balances, partly due to the gender pay gap, which you touched on, and really it's about the confidence that they have to just come straight in and make a larger investment up front and see it grow. And I haven't actually focused on the data of our men switching in and out more than women, but they definitely start with more. And that being said, we think that women's steadiness and their consistent approach to saving could help close the gap, at least in our platform, over time, because it's probably not necessary. Of course, there's a big factor of how much you start with, but we also see that if you stay committed to your goals, and we know that women are excelling at staying at the course. And so these small, consistent contributions should accumulate into significant savings over time. And as long as they know they're not going anywhere and they're just focused on the longer term, we hope to see that gap closing through platforms like ours.
And do you see women are far more willing to talk about money than men as well? Yeah,
I think the traditional stereotypes is that we're not as confident, but I think times are changing. And we've created a platform where we want females in particular to feel proud about showcasing their savings goals and to share those with their families and the people around them, and to be the leaders of taking control of their finances and to really be role models. So absolutely.
So, and you've got the two accounts, and I get the fixed interest one, the base one, but you've also now got this Blossom Plus targeting, a 7%, which is great actually. So a bit more detail on that would be, I think, worthwhile, because it's not as secure as the base one. We get that because you're getting a higher return, but I am really keen on people saving and maximizing their savings, where it's how it's invested. So this particular Blossom Plus is of real interest to me.
Sure. So as we mentioned, Blossom Plus, because of the longer lockups with the funds, our fund manager has more flexibility with the strategies that can be taken to target that higher return, whilst ensuring there's the diversification and mitigating the risks to allow for that upside. But we created Blossom Plus really in direct response to our customer base. So many of them were asking for an option. How can we lock our funds away for longer in exchange for the higher returns? And so we created that with the feedback in mind, and we're fortunate that we have a very engaged community that gives us valuable insights, and this product definitely reflects their needs, and we know this because we're seeing it through the growth of the product, particularly from businesses and self-managed super funds who are investing because they see it as a reliable option for their pool of capital. But on the individual side, it really suits people with medium to longer term goals, who are comfortable putting their funds away to target a higher return and grow their savings.
Yeah, and it's sort of the question I always ask when people say, "Oh, okay, this is this fund, but are they investing in things like cryptocurrency? Could I lose my money and all that?" And I'm sure you get those type of questions and for the transparency. So what do you say for those type of questions?
Sure. So our fixed income fund is a bespoke fixed income fund, and it's managed by the team at Fort Lake Asset Management, led by Dr. Christian Bayless, who is an ex-UBS fixed income investor. He managed $30 billion in his day at UBS, and prior to that, he was at the RBA. The strategy is, again, it's fixed income investing. It's not crypto, it's not shares, it's not cash. It's an investment approach that is really focused on preserving your capital. And common examples of the different investments are government and corporate bonds, and mortgage-backed securities and cash equivalents that provide steady streams of income. So we definitely have a fund. Like any fixed income fund, it carries risk, but we have some key risk mitigation strategies in place, like diversification, like having the experienced team, like the nature of the investments actually being fixed income investments that are all investment grade in terms of their credit rating, that make us confident in being able to target fixed returns and fix the earnings, which are posted to our customer accounts daily.
And you've got a lot of information on your website. And so anyone who's interested, there's a lot of research there, a lot of information there that they can actually do their homework, which for any investment, I always say you must do your homework as if you were going to do this yourself. But of course, you've got better things to do with your time. So you let experts look after this, but you don't just blind faith give your money away. You must do your research initially. I love this save like a girl concept that you've got. As I said, I've got daughters, and it really is empowering with the whole self-education sort of thing. So please, can you explain that a bit more?
Sure. I love the concept as well, by the way. There's a Olympic pole vaulter, an American pole vaulter, who says, if you're jumping like a girl, you're doing it right. And I think it aligns with Save Like a Girl very much so, where doing things like a girl is something to be proud of. And in this case, it's saving and investing with Blossom. So we touched on the fact that we absolutely celebrate women are more disciplined, they're consistent. And for us, the role is to challenge the outdated notions that investing or wealth building is only for the risk takers and only for people with deep pockets. We are making fixed income accessible, we're making it understandable, or we're trying to, and we're demonstrating the power of compounding returns. We're removing complexity and intimidation that's often involved with financial products. And through our product, we're lowering the barriers to entry, and we want to make sure that women can feel confident to take control regardless of the starting point. And you said education, so it's exactly education, that once you have education, you're empowered with the knowledge and the tools and the confidence and the independence to make decisions. And our platform, we share insights. We actually have a blog, and we write a column called Go and Grow in the regional papers. I don't know if you've seen any of those pieces, but it's tips and tricks from Gaby and I to better connect with your money. We also have savings challenges that we do periodically to gamify the process and make saving more accessible. So ultimately, as I said, we want women to become role models. We want everyone to become role models, to take control of their finances and just encourage others to take the leap and do something more with their money that they can feel savvier and smarter about.
Yeah, and I also think, because I applaud all that, but I also think, it's, as I said before, women in general are happy to talk about money to their friends. And I think if someone sees a really good idea or reads a really good book, they want to pass it on to their friend. And I think this is the perfect example that if they do get more educated on finances, on what you're doing, that they will spread the word. And I think I often call it, you want your own financial gym buddy that will help keep you accountable and on track to reach whatever targets. And I absolutely know women my past from coaching for 30 years, that women were far more or much better at helping keep each other accountable. So I think that's just great. And yeah, anything that's education, and then you just don't keep it a secret. You want to actually spread the word. Well, actually, interesting because we're talking about women, and I know, as you said, this is for men and women. But one of the things that's interesting is that you said you and your partner Gaby, and I've been in the finance industry for 30 years. It's a pretty heavily dominated male industry or profession. How have you found it being two women in a male-dominated industry?
It's a great question. It definitely gives us a unique perspective. We have a strong focus on inclusivity because of being women. We have a strong focus on empathy. I think we're very patient. And I think we also know that we're going to be in this, hopefully, for the next 10 to 20 years. So we take a very disciplined approach to growing the business. Every single dollar, we're frugal with how we spend. And ultimately, we created a platform that was designed for people like ourselves, so that we want, or that they want to feel savvy and smarter for diving in. And that was, again, in a reflection of what we wanted in a platform. So we're all about collaboration. We're all about transparency. And I think we have genuine care for our customers and their long-term goals. It's core to absolutely everything we do. We ask them a million questions before we make a decision. They're often telling us what we want, and we really listen to them. And that's probably a bit different to the profit-first mentality that can sometimes dominate the industry, like you said. So I think it gives us a unique perspective.
And I think any product that's out there that is investment related with education has to be applauded, because yes, there were so many products over the years that are really, yep, there's our product, invest, don't invest, it's up to you, and really provided very little information. But I just like the amount of information that's on your website, the amount of education on your website, that's all brilliant. So you're actually just touching on then that you sort of say, you get a lot of feedback from your clients or your investors, and that led to your Blossom Plus. Is there anything else on the cards? Or is this where you're going to leave it, or I'm sure that's not the case?
Oh, there's a lot on the cards. We're busy. We will actually be launching to New Zealand in the coming weeks.
Okay.
That is a first market expansion for us, and hopefully going to be a really great new market. But in terms of what our customers are asking for, joint accounts, so being able to share in savings goals, fund from the same account and track and reach your goals together, and kids accounts. Definitely a big one for the new year, where you are able to save with your child, either in their name or your name, depending on how you want to do it. But yeah, setting up a way to be able to save for your children. But yeah, we just want to get as many people at all different life stages investing, and whether that's for retirement, whether that's for home ownership, whether that's for future children's education, you name it. We want to be that home for hundreds of thousands of savers with a range of products tailored to them, with hopefully hundreds of millions of dollars under management one day, and seeing women thrive because they've taken control of their money.
Yeah, and fingers crossed, because I think what you're doing is brilliant. We really did need something between straight out cash in a bank, but for people who don't also want to be 100% shares or property. And so I just think that middle area was really, you're saying before about sophisticated investors or people with a lot of money could access it, but everyday investors really couldn't. So I think you've got a great niche there that, there's a lot of possibilities and opportunities there. So no, it's the best of luck with that. And I've one of the things as a final question is, I'm sure you've heard over your life, for parents or workers or in this industry, what's maybe the best piece of advice you've ever heard?
Okay, one personal and one investment. Okay. Personal is surround yourself with people smarter than you. Can't go wrong when we've got that surrounding. And on the investment side, diversify. Nothing ever goes to plan. Nothing ever works in the way you expect. And so as long as you've spread your risk, you'll hopefully come out the other side, much better off. So those are my two pieces.
Not really like that. Thank you for that, Ali. And I do agree, especially on the first part. Surround yourself with good people, not just in work, but in your personal life. It just makes perfect sense. Thank you very much for being on the show, and best of luck with Blossom. I'm looking forward to just following your progress over the next few years. And again, best of luck with New Zealand as well and all that you're doing.
Thank you. It was great to speak with you. Appreciate your support, and yeah, looking forward to staying in touch. Thank you.
Thanks, Ali. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to know more about Ali and Blossom, visit www.blossomapp.com or feel free to email me on the admin@themoneysandwich.com or visit our website, themoneysandwich.com, if you have any questions or would like to learn more. Enjoyed this episode and want to hear more of A Bite from the Money Sandwich? Make sure you subscribe on your platform of choice so you can automatically receive each episode as soon as it's released. As with every podcast, this information is not advice, as not personalized to your own situation. And past performance is never guaranteed for the future. What we are trying to do here is to provide tips, coaching, and education to help improve your money knowledge, which we believe can only be a good thing. See you next time when we take another bite from the Money Sandwich.